Mission Brain podcast. Today we sit with the builder of hope, Dr. Alfredo Quiñones-Hinojosa, founder and president of Mission Brain, also the William J. and Charles H. Mayo Professor in the Mayo Clinic, Monica Flynn Jacobi Endowed Chair to 24, and the James and Sarah K. Kennedy Dean of Research. Cancer researcher, leader, and personal mentor, and also a neurosurgeon in his free time. Dr. Q joined us to talk about healing with dignity, science with heart, and the small acts that drive change in our world in this part one of our podcast. Dr. Q, I know it's early Sunday morning here in Florida. What moved you today that reminded you why you do this every day?
It was simple. First of all, thank you, Emiliano. I don't know if I'm a mentor or a tormentor. I do a combination of both, but thank you for that question. Sunday morning is a beautiful, look at this right here. We are here at the Mayo Clinic in a beautiful building. We have a view of all the innovation, technology, where we have people, space, and technology creating change, creating the new cures that one day will allow us to cure patients with cancer, which is my passion, brain cancer specifically. I have a dream that one day people around the world will have access to any type of care, specifically brain and spine care, which, as you know, 5 million people every year, 5 million people in the world lack access to either brain or spine, care, emergency, chronic, whatever it may be. 5 million people, think about it. Last year, Mission Brain touched 23,000 lives. It's a small little contribution to the world. But I believe, just like I got up this morning, I believe that through this process of what we do in Mission Brain, through these new generations, people like you that are getting activated, that dream of a better world, we can, by the year 2030, touch 100,000 people, and so on and so forth. So I believe that together we're better. I believe that there's no dream big enough that we cannot achieve, not especially when we have these 100 billion neurons and this 400 to 600 trillion synapses going on in your brain and in my brain. Each of us has that amount of synapses in our brain, and when we put them together, there are no impossible. So that's what drives me every morning to get up. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I get up in the morning and I am as tired as everyone else. I am as exhausted as everyone else. And you probably got my first text message somewhere around 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and I was already reviewing papers and I was already doing work. I love what I do. I feel like it's a blessing. Work is not punishment, it's a privilege. Be able to care for patients is not something that I take for granted. It's a gift that we have been given, the opportunity to touch lives, and when you do that, those lives touch you back and they give you so much more. I listened to something yesterday, and I am a man of faith. I do believe in God, and I listened to something that when it comes down to giving, you can never compete with God. God has a way of giving us amazing things. And when you give something to someone, you'll get back 7 times more than what you have been given. And I believe in that, you know what I mean? And for me, God doesn't have a name or a face or a sex or a skin color or anything, but God has this amazing, powerful brain that can do anything, and that is that energy that drives us. So that's what got me going this morning.
Beautiful, Dr. Q. And in up to 2025, going on to the future, as our founder or leader, what is the specific thing, in your opinion, that drives Mission Brain forward?
I would say that we just had our first board meeting, our first retreat after so many years. Just think about this. I started going to Mexico in 2006 by myself. Mission Brain was established in our first trip in 2011. That's when we also converted into a 501c3. So next year in 2026, we will celebrate our 20th anniversary of myself going in our 15th anniversary of Mission Brain as a foundation, as a 501c3 going. And I think what drives us in our future, our vision of the future is very simple. We are touching lives, no question. We are impacting lives and families around the world. We're impacting not only our future generations of leaders, doctors, surgeons, engineers, business people, whatever it may be, because I believe that you need multidisciplinary teams to be able to change the world. I can't do it alone. I surround myself by the greatest talent in the world, which is present in this room. And I believe that if we keep in this trajectory, we will keep touching more lives. But our principles are simple. We never go to places to tell people how to do things. We go to learn from them. And if given an opportunity, we share our knowledge. That has been the guiding principle from day one, from the moment that I put my first time, my feet on the hospital in Guadalajara in 2006. And I began to do stuff with the residents, with the doctors there. I always thought of myself, what was it like to be on the other side? Growing up in a developing country and seeing Americans come in and having that perception that sometimes you feel like you're being told how to solve your own problems. And I never felt that that was a priority for us. I always felt that we go to these places, we learn from them, we share our knowledge, we treat, we empower, and we educate. And in the process, we treat ourselves, we empower ourselves, and we educate ourselves. Notice that it's a two-way relationship. So our dream is that we'll touch 100,000 lives by the year 2030, and that is the priority that we set up in our board, our board retreat that we just did a few months ago.
Beautiful, sir. The third question is more about your research perspective. As a top leader in researching brain cancer in the world, what is a lesson of failure that has made your science stronger throughout the years?
Well, there's no question. I always tell people that I have failed many thousands more times than I have succeeded. I would say about failure, I think it's important to mention something. I think failure is important. Failure allows you to build character, because it's not just about failing, it's about being down on your knees and knowing that the world is putting that pressure on you of failure, of inability to be able to convert something that you dreamed about into something positive, something successful. So that it is very important in my life. And I always tell you, and I tell our people in our lab, that we will fail more times than we will succeed. But failure is important. Equally as important is success, because success allows you to build confidence. And I think that you need both character and confidence, because it's both failure and success that gives you together wisdom. And that only comes through experience, and it only comes through making sure that you have an opportunity to reflect on both. On the failure, what happened, what can I do better? On the success, was it really success because something I did or something someone else did? And that keeps you humble as well. But that allows you to build that confidence that you can do something. But it's both of them that give you wisdom. And I tell you the wisdom that I have acquired over the years in the laboratory. I still remember my very first experiment where I failed. I had just finished UC Berkeley, and I finished my honors thesis at the University of California, Berkeley. And that honors thesis was on the role of the mu opioid receptor and synaptoplasticity, monosynaptoplasticity from the lateral entorhinal cortex to the nucleus accumbens for drug-mediated reward. And I'd proven that it was one, monosynaptic, and two, that it was mu opioid dependent. And I published my first paper just when I started Harvard Medical School. And I was accepted into the MD PhD program at the time. And I ended up not doing the PhD, I ended up doing a Howard Hughes fellowship for a couple of years when I was at Harvard Medical School. But the story is that I went into my PhD lab and I did a series of experiments in which we were cloning a piece of a gene that is responsible for aggressive behavior in Drosophila melanogaster. And I was so proud of myself. In my very first series of experiments, I was able to clone part of that gene, And my professor, Dr. Ed Kravitz, was very laudatory, very congratulatory. And that was the first mistake, because I got so confident, and we were about to present this work to the Society for Neuroscience, and two back-to-back failures happened that dictated the way in which I was going to conduct my science for the rest of my life. Number one, I couldn't duplicate the experiment. And number two, when I wrote down my first abstract to be presented to the Society for Neurosciences, I remember I gave it to Dr. Kravitz. He read it in front of me. I never forget. He had a red pen, and at the end, after about 10 minutes, the entire page was read. And he gave it back to me, and he says, very, very encouraging first draft. Not even good, not even good. It was encouraging, and that brought me down to the place in which you feel once again that failure that puts you down on your knees. And I remember walking out of that office, and the office was right next to the laboratory, right in the quadrangle of the Harvard Medical School. And I went back to my desk, and I sat there, and I reflected, and I said, I have a choice. Do I continue in the lab? Is this something that I want to do? Or I have this choice of just going back to medical school and just continue with my medical education. But at that moment, I felt that if I was going to make a difference in science, if I was going to one day impact a patient's life, which I still dream about that, by the way, because I don't think I have done it yet, I said to myself, if I am going to do that, I need to bounce back from this, what at the time I felt to be a catastrophic failure. And sure enough, we went back, we ended up duplicating the experiment. I ended up presenting my work at the Society for Neuroscience. And that year was in Miami, and I never forget, it was my first trip representing a laboratory. And it was an amazing experience. Once again, failure, confidence, and the wisdom came from that experience. Nowadays, we fail. I mean, I've done over 5,000 brain surgeries, and I always tell patients that I have failed many, many more times in my inability to cure this horrendous disease, which is brain cancer, both primary and metastatic. And I have failed at times in my own attempts to do something for a patient, and I come out of the operating room asking myself, did I do something, or did I not do something that accelerated the demise of that patient? And that weighs heavily on you. And I have sad stories of that. I have nightmares. I have nightmares of the patients that I have, that I felt that I did either something wrong or I didn't do something right, one of the two, and they just haunt me. And I think those failures allow me to just get up in the morning and try again, because life is all about trying again. And that's why the movie Rocky is one of my favorites. It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you get hit. You're down on your knees and you just keep moving forward, regardless of that impact and that pain that life gives you.
Beautiful. I've learned a lot through the years through your example, and I've had the privilege of seeing you in the operating room and treating patients. And that's always an inspiration for all of us. When you speak to the family of the patient you operated on after each case, we have noticed how sensitive that moment is between you and the family. In a few words, what does that mean to you today?
I watch athletes celebrate their victories, or be sad because of their failures, and they get to do it, especially in the celebrations, in the big screen, and people around them celebrating them. For me, the celebration of a successful surgery happens in that small room, privately, with either the husband, the wife, the son, the daughter, the grandkids, the small family members, in a very small group, because these rooms are designed small, so you can only fit a limited amount of people. And I get to experience the joy and the beauty of when things went exactly the way that we dream about, which is likely the majority of the time. But I have also learned to experience and absorb and try to get the positive out of life when things don't go so well. And I take those moments also as a moment to celebrate the life of those who I know they touched me, and despite of my best efforts, I was unable to either help them or, like I said before, I felt that I failed them. And I get to enjoy those moments with the family members as well, even though they sometimes are powerful and painful emotionally. I still embrace them because at the end of the day, I feel so privileged that I've been given a gift to care for them. So those are very, very small moments that they're very beautiful. And I wish the world could see them. You guys get to see them because you're in the room with me. But they're very powerful, they're very emotional. They're what I call the most beautiful moments of what I do. And they are not necessarily the moments that are captured either with a telephone camera or a camera crew. You know, very, very few times people get to see that. And I get to see it all the time. And it fills me with hope. And it fills me with this, idea that through the journey that they have gone through, and I always try to make them part of history. Remember, because every patient that goes into the operating room either donates tissue or donates cerebrospinal fluid or something, and that tissue, donate because we take these tumors out, and instead of putting them by medical waste, they literally go back to our lab, and we have invested millions and millions of dollars through grants through the National Institute of Health, our federal organization, to be able to find cures for cancer. And we have made progress. We find, day after day, new mechanisms that cells use to go and grow, to move and keep moving forward and keep growing. And I think that's the beauty. Making them part of history allows me to enjoy with them those few moments that not a lot of people can see.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I think that those who surround you learned mostly for your example and for your grit and your energy. And I've been privileged with that. And for this final version, we're going to be doing a rapid fire series of questions. The idea is for you to answer either with one word, one sentence, or a couple of sentences max. These are very few questions.
Bring it.
The first one is one word for Mission Brain.
Hope.
Advice for people watching and listening who wants to help our Mission Brain family today.
Never give up. Keep innovating. Keep dreaming. Spark. Ignite.
What is the worst advice you have ever received?
Don't do it.
What is a piece of advice you did not understand at the time, but now you live by?
You have great power.
And last but not least, what is the worst day in the operating room and the best day in the operating room that you've had?
The worst day is when things don't go the way that I dream about for a patient. And the best day is when things go the way I dream about for a patient.
Alrighty, well that wraps it up. Thank you, Dr. Q, for this podcast that you had the time with us, and we hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you soon.
Well, before you leave me, this is part 1. What are we going to see in part 2, part 3, and part 4? Because these are like Star Wars chapters.
Part 2, we're focusing more on the personal side of your story and things that has built your grit and your resilience. And we're going to put this out there. I hope everyone enjoys it. And thank you for your time, your generosity, and we'll see you soon.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Keep punching. Bye-bye.